And here we are. It's 7 p.m. in state-controlled Britain. I do apologise if you tuned in last week and I wasn't here. It's because I had some technical difficulties as I was travelling. And in the room are two of my favourite people. One is the UK's top nutritionist. That's Richard Smith.
Good day, Stephen. How are you, kind sir?
I'm very well. And I'm really super excited, as they say nowadays, because we have the wonderful Heather Foley, who has organised another great keto brain health thing. So hi, Heather.
Hi, Stephen. Hi, Richard.
Nice to see you. Looking good.
Thank you very much. Likewise.
Must be in this something in this ketogenic lifestyle. Hey?
Telling you.
Yes. Well, now we have questions. We do have some questions, but before that, I just want to tell people about this great event because it's just something you shouldn't be missing. So, Heather, it's the 4th and the 5th of October. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so it's basically second year running. This time it's 2-day and it's a clinic, so to speak, where we have inspirational stories. So people coming and telling their story on stage. And then we have the reassurance part, which is the research and the scientists talking at the level of the layperson to really understand why you're doing the ketogenic diet. And when people challenge you and say it will kill you and give you a heart attack, etc., you can counter that because of these very straightforward, simple answers. And then we have the educators, which is people that are going to be speaking more about all the mistakes people make on this way of eating and just help people make as few mistakes as possible. I've been on this journey since 2010, keto, and keto carnivore since 2018, May 2018. And I have made way too many mistakes. So I would like people to make a lot less mistakes than I have. And that's why I'm running these events. So you can see the program there. And I'm hoping it's going to be a very successful weekend like last year was. And the speakers are very well received. And any questions, just put them up.
Okay. I mean, do you want to tell us a little bit about each speaker or do you want to just get on to questions? What do you want to do?
So very, very briefly, I've managed to get myself out of speaking. I will just be introducing the day. Richard is co-hosting the event with me very kindly. So the first person up is a lady called Sasha, and she specializes in women's mental health with nutritional ketosis. She is a nutrition and dietitian and has 20 years experience in the area. So I'm very looking forward to seeing a dietitian speaking in this space. Then Hannah Suter is one of the people that Hannah has been in this space about 24 years, bringing ketogenic food to the NHS for 20 years, I believe, for epilepsy. And is one of those people who will bring you the mistakes that people make on this journey. And then, apologies for the dog, Bitten Johnson is a specialist in addictions, and she's very kindly agreed to come online for a talk from Sweden. And she's one of the top, she's a nurse by trade profession, but she is one of the top specialists in the world on food addiction. So she will be speaking. And then Kira is a good friend of mine who is binge eating disorder and has done Bitten Johnson and Dr. Joan Iflin's training. And she will be speaking on her experiences of binge eating disorder, being 19 stone at the age of 19, and her journey and where she's at now. And then Dr. Erin Bellamy has been a researcher in the ketogenic space for over 10 plus years. Richard Smith, this random guy that I just invited along, who's going to co-host. You might have heard of him. And then at the end of the day, each day we'll have a panel. And the panel is everyone from that day will be asked questions. Rather than having questions after each talk, we'll put the questions to the end of the day. So you write down your questions and then we'll ask them at the end of the day, just so the most relevant questions are put to the panel. And then on the Sunday, another full day again. On the Sunday, we have Dr. Joan Iflin flying in from America. She has done multiple research papers now on food addictions, and incredible lady, absolutely incredible what she's achieving. Kate Martin is a farmer down in Cornwall, and she is going to explain to us that meat in the UK is not like meat in America. We don't feed our animals antibiotics, etc., etc. She's going to put all those myths to bed. And I'm delighted to have her there because so many people argue that meat is so bad now. And in reality, Kate will just nip that in the butt and talk through all of that. Dr. Rachel Brown is one of the first metabolic psychiatrists in the UK. And again, delighted to have her. Like Richard, she was there last year as well. And Richard will be interviewing her this year, which is great. So a little bit of a conversation going on there. And Rachel focuses, she's been a psychiatrist for 20 years, but she also can see a clear link between metabolic health, microbiome, and gut microbiome and circadian rhythm. So they will all be factored in. Then we have Frank Wright, who I think a lot of people know now in this space, who, again, addictions was his big thing. And he is going to talk about his experiences and how ketogenic way of eating has made a huge difference to his life. Then we have Simon Grant, who was away with Stephen Thomas in the other side of the world. He will be coming in live for a lecture on autism and how his son's symptoms drastically reduced by eating a high-fat diet. So very much looking forward to that. And then finally, we have Dr. Abs, who, again, is going to educate and reassure people about the knock-on effect of the carbohydrate eating way and the high-fat eating way. And I think his title is very simple, but says it all. And again, at the end of that day, we will have another panel for the speakers of that day. So hopefully it appeals to everyone the way I've run it. And yeah, really looking forward to it.
And that is October the 4th and 5th?
Yes.
At Murrayfield, which is in Edinburgh. So
yes.
Can people get tickets for both days, or do they have to buy it?
Yeah, I actually had someone reach out to me the other day and said I can only attend one day. And I hadn't really thought that one through. So we have, my web designer is putting it up for, I think he's done it now, for buy for one day only. If you can make the Saturday, you pay for the Saturday or the Sunday, or the full price for the 2 days. And yeah, that's the plan right now. Hoping potentially to have live streaming as well, but that's not been confirmed yet.
Oh, that's fabulous! By the way, I'm not away with Simon. I'm not doing that. But anyway, I'm in England. Anyway, right. Here we go.
Of the year.
Let's get to some questions, and many questions already. So let's get into those. Andy 828, Richard. As you've been quiet for so long, it's the longest you've ever been quiet. You maybe want to field this one. Andy 828, my friend has been low carb for a few years with good health benefits. However, during the past 2 months, she has developed flaky skin, but it's not itchy. Thoughts?
Yeah, brilliant question, Andy. Look, so a ketogenic lifestyle, low carb ketogenic lifestyles are, in my opinion, the best way to begin any health journey. Obviously, with the lowering of carbohydrate, we improve insulin sensitivity, and this confers huge benefits downstream. As we gravitate deeper, we remove the grains and seed oils, and things improve further because, as you guys know, grains contain a compound called lectin, and lectin will cause intestinal permeability. It will bind to insulin receptors and cause 5 times more fat storage. It will lead to cravings because it blocks leptin and so on and so forth. But we make these changes and we see the biggest benefits as we begin the journey. As the body travels deeper down the journey and it recovers, now it becomes more sensitive, if you like, to compounds that become problematic. Many will believe and say that going low carb keto has caused them to become gluten intolerant. And this isn't the case. The case is we've always been gluten intolerant, and everyone is gluten intolerant, by the way. It isn't just gluten. Grains, for example, contain another lectin called wheat germ agglutinin, which causes intestinal permeability in everyone, which leads to autoimmune disease in some people. But it causes that intestinal permeability in everyone. Now, when someone goes low carb and they persist, their body increases its ability to recognize toxins. So think of alcohol. The first time we drink a glass of wine or a bottle of beer, we feel tipsy. The second time, the effect of that alcohol becomes less. And then by week 3, week 4, we're drinking considerably more than we were prior to this. Now, this doesn't mean that the alcohol isn't causing damage. It just means our body's ability to recognize that damage has been diminished. And this is what happens with these toxic compounds that we consume on a daily basis. We consume them every day, and we consume more each day. So the body builds up a tolerance to them. Now, when we've had a spell where we're devoid of these toxins and we put them back in, the body increases its early warning alarm system to tell us that it does not want said toxin. So what happens is, as we gravitate into this journey, the body becomes more sensitive to certain things. So we've cleared up, we've seen huge benefits, maybe some weight loss, hormonal correction, increased insulin sensitivity, along with increased cognitive function, and so on and so forth. You take your pick, because there's a large list of them. Now, 2 years in, the body starts to tell you that it's now consuming, or you're still consuming, other compounds which it didn't recognize before because it was buffering, and now it's telling you that they're causing problems. So flaky skin or itchy skin can be caused by a number of things. Intestinal permeability is the main one. If you have intestinal permeability, then it's quite likely you're going to suffer with skin conditions. On a low-carb ketogenic lifestyle, it's quite probable that this person, your friend Andy, is still consuming maybe tomatoes, which are very high in lectins, could even be still consuming potatoes even, which contain a different type of lectin called STA. Any other type of vegetable like onions, or what else is it? Cauliflower is a staple on a ketogenic lifestyle. And these things contain compounds called phytohemagglutinin, all different types of lectins. Bell peppers were a staple of mine. Now, we're still consuming these compounds. They're causing this intestinal permeability, and the intestinal permeability can cause these skin conditions. Other contributing factors, medication, casein, if she's still drinking milk, even raw milk can be problematic. Less problematic if you're carnivore, but one to keep an eye on. And what else is there? It could be damage to the HPA axis, because cortisol is responsible for the production of sebum, which is, it basically controls the oily substance in the skin. So if the HPA axis is damaged, in simple terms, if one is stressed and that axis is damaged, that can lead to skin conditions. Basophils, increased basophil, so that can be caused, which is ultimately a histamine response. That can be caused by aged meats. It can be caused by milk, potentially. Aged meat seems to be mincemeat or a ground beef. If you're from the States, that could be problematic. And oxalate detoxin could also be another sign. So now that the body is in a state where it can release these toxins from stored tissues, it releases the oxalate into circulation, and that can cause skin conditions. So the solution is address whichever one it is that I've mentioned there. If it is the oxalate, potassium citrate is a fantastic supplement to take. We'll get into that a little bit later on as we go through. If it is a histamine response, obviously avoid the aged meats, avoid the ground beef. And if she is still consuming any of the lectin high compounds, obviously either reduce or remove them. Seeds and nuts can also be incredibly problematic. Another staple on a ketogenic lifestyle, very high in lectins also. So a few levers to potentially address there.
Yeah, that's a very long answer. Thank you, Richard, as always. No, it's okay. We'll go on to some of the super chats, actually, which is always nice to thank people. So Anna has a super chat of $29.99. Your support is appreciated. That's very good. John has a €10. I haven't been able to follow many Q&As lately. It's been busy days, but I wanted to show my support to you great people. Greetings from the humongous country of Belgium. Well done, Jonathan. Thank you so much.
Great to you, Jonathan, a client of mine.
Good.
If it's the Jonathan I think it is.
Well, it may be. Does he come from Belgium?
Quite possibly. He is from there somewhere. I don't think I've ever asked.
Everyone's got to be from somewhere, haven't they?
John D.
MJ, a super sticker of $4.99, which is fabulous of you. So thank you so much for that. That's, it's just so appreciated. It really is. Right. Okay. Next question. Unless Heather wanted to jump in on the flaky skin thing.
I wouldn't mind, actually. Thank you. The reason being is I gave up coffee 3 weeks ago. and Rich might have the answer to this, because the only way I have butter is in my coffee. I stopped having butter on meat and anything a long time ago because I knew I didn't get on too well with it. But I had bulletproof coffee at least 10 years now, so it's hard to give it up. And in the space of the last 3 weeks, my skin has stopped being dry. So it's no longer, I've no longer flaky dry skin. So it's either the coffee, which I personally think it is, because my cortisol, I've got Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Cortisol naturally will get spiked with me much quicker than most. But also it could be the butter. But on top of that, just as a side note, I've had sinus issues forever. I always have a tissue with me when I'm walking, always. And I have green sputum always, and nobody can question it, why it's there. And after giving the butter up for 3 weeks, it's completely gone, and I don't need to blow my nose at all.
And Heather, why did you decide to quit coffee?
Because a certain Richard Smith and a certain Anthony Chafee had a long chat with me nearly a year ago. And I finally kicked it, 3 weeks ago, and I'm using exogenous ketones to help me. So thank you for that, Richard.
Fantastic. See,
it's definitely making. You and I have similar reactions to caffeine.
Yeah, coffee's gone for me. I do miss it.
Yep.
But I think that's what flakiness was.
Yeah.
Right. Many factors. Yeah, brilliant. Okay. Deb is asking, what bloods would you recommend to evaluate stroke risk based on a strong family history of stroke, no symptoms, and at 72 metabolically healthy? Well, firstly, Deb, that's great at 72 to be metabolically healthy. Sounds like you're doing really well. There are so many tests you can do. Many people recommend homocysteine, but you can have elevated levels of homocysteine and still be okay. So I would recommend like a panel. So you could do that. You could do HSCRP, high sensitive C-reactive protein. As I'm a big fan of the thrombotic theory of heart disease, I would definitely do fibrinogen, and I would do a D-dimer test, which actually is a great test for anyone that's worried about any sort of thrombosis. So for instance, by the way, just to broaden it out a bit, if you've had a therapeutic thing happen to you in the last 5 years that you didn't really want, the D-dimer is a very good test to see what's going on in your body. You can do what's called platelet aggregation study. You can suggest that as well. And you can say what you've said. If you say that to the doctor, that you've got this history of stroke, that's why you're asking, they won't roll their eyes, because they will say, well, hopefully they will say, oh, this person has researched it. You can do some other things as well, which are allegedly associated with heart outcomes that are not to your satisfaction. Uric acid, but I do think uric acid is underrated as an antioxidant, so that could be there. The normal ones, like the HbA1cs, you could look at glycation. Fructosamine would be a better test, which is also looking at glycation. You could do, by the way, you can watch this on playback, so it's not just live today. You could do your fasted insulin. That is always a good thing to do, I think. So you could see what's going on. You could do an advanced lipid panel. You could look at Lp(a), which I believe is really badly spoken about, because there's, in 2012, for instance, mortality risk was associated with low Lp(a), and so was cancer risk, actually. So Lp(a), I'm giving you what the mainstream say, but I do think you need to look at how it's interpreted for you. So you could do a fractional panel of the lipids as well. You could do the B vitamins methylation panel. So this is everything. I mean, folate, but in carnivore you need much less folate than you do if you're, say, on a vegetarian or carnivore, vegetarian or vegan diet. On carnivore, we need less folate because we get it in the form that's bioavailable. So we get monoglutamate folate, whereas on plants it's polyglutamate. So there's a lot of processing going on. So yeah, loads of things you could do. ApoE genotype, which is what I am, ApoE44. I don't think that it is as bad as people make out. In fact, because I use ChatGPT for a few things, when I put in that I was an ApoE44, what do you reckon my chances are of a heart attack? ChatGPT said, well, genetically, it's overrated. I mean, it's learned from me. It's probably like maybe 20% of the risk, but because talking to me, because you know about physiology and bloods and stuff like that, it seems to learn from what I'm saying. It's probably not a risk factor. So loads and loads of things. I will hand it over to Richard as well, and Heather if she wants to. But that's pretty much all I can think of.
Yeah, I agree. I think the two main ones that you mentioned there that stand out for me, homocysteine, because this can be a big indicator. We can have you just mentioned low folate, especially being carnivore, and that will be triggered as being problematic. But as long as homocysteine is okay, because that's used in that pathway, in the methylation pathway. The best one, I think, is the D-dimer. The D-dimer detects new clots that are forming and breaking down. So this would be a very good test. I need to be careful how I word this for. If you have,
what I said,
if you've received some sort of
don't worry, Richard. I'd already said it.
Yeah,
you might have missed it in all of that. Yes,
possibly,
if you've had something you didn't really want.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Let's move on. We don't want to get taken off here, especially as we've got Heather with us right now.
Oh, Heather's got something to jump in with that.
I do. Yeah. I want to be slightly controversial to the two of you. Everyone in my family, well, lots of people in my family get breast cancer. So we were really pushed to get the BRCA gene test. And I remember going in to see the nurse practitioner and saying, I've been told to come and get it. And we had a really long discussion. And she said, are you healthy? And I said, yes. She said, do you look after yourself? And I said, yes. And I said to her, I don't want it unless I have to have it. And she said, really? You don't need to have it. There's a 10 to 20% chance you'll get breast cancer. And I would rather not go obsessively testing for something when this lady has just said she's 72 and she's metabolically healthy. I refuse to find out if I have the BRCA gene. I don't need to know. So that's, for me, like I said to you before, Richard, I wasn't taking much medication for Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, etc., because I found tweaks like salt in my water and things like that. If I know that I have a gene that is deleterious to me, I will worry about it. And that will make it worse. It's environmental. It's like, what's his name? Bruce Lipton says. Like, you just, if you're healthy, why start going down this route?
100%. And this is exactly what Stephen and I say every week. People will look at test results and some of these test results can put the fear of God into people. And ultimately, how do you feel? That is the be all and end all, because if you feel fantastic, then we should never be driven by test results. They are nothing more than an indicator, a form of guidance, if you like, but we certainly shouldn't be governed by test results, because as we gravitate into this lifestyle, the ranges for us on these things are very different to what a normal person would fall into. On many things. And this is one of the reasons that many of the carnivores in the community have put carbohydrate back in, because they don't understand how to read bloods in the way that Stephen does. Steve's released lots of fantastic videos illustrating and books to illustrate how to correctly read bloods and understand them within our lifestyle. But you're right. Why put yourself at risk? And especially if you can't change your genes. And epigenetics, as you know, is, I think, did I present on that in Brain Health last time? I can't remember. But epigenetics basically allows us to flick the switch on different sets of genes and turn off the ones that don't serve us as well. Does it matter? We can't change our genes. So, as you say, why get a test result and stress over it? I've got countless amounts of methylation reports from clients and things here. And it's like, I don't care. They can be incredibly beneficial to help guide me in regards to something that they may be devoid in. But generally, when you live a ketogenic carnivore lifestyle, we already tick most of those boxes.
Absolutely. That's brilliant. So I was asked what I would recommend in bloods. That's what I'd recommend. But actually what the two people in the room said is, if you feel healthy, I wouldn't go and get bloods. Right. Really that simple. But here we go. Right. Amanda is saying, any concerns with drinking water during or immediately before / after consuming a high-fat meal? Some influencers recommend a buffer window of 30 to 45 minutes to prevent fat and water from mixing. My only proviso would be it depends on the quantity. If you're sipping, I don't think any fluid is a problem. But if you're one of these people that's been talked into, chugging away a load of fluid all the time or at meals, then I would say that I wouldn't be doing that. But anyway, I'll hand over to Rich and Heather.
Yeah, look, I agree. It's so we've said this a number of times recently for people who suffer with malabsorption and low stomach acid. Low stomach acid prevents the body from basically digesting, partly digesting the food in the stomach. And then there's the bile production, which allows that food to be emulsified, increasing the surface area of the pancreatic enzymes to go to work on. So in that state, sometimes I recommend somebody not consume liquid with their meal. I'm a hypocrite in that case, because I do like to drink when I'm eating, but I only drink a small amount. So I think you're right, Steve. If you want to drink something, as long as you keep it small and you sip in, if you're drinking something this big, then that potentially could be problematic. We don't want to be lowering that stomach acidity too much, but a little bit, I don't think is going to hurt. And I think it can actually help with that whole digestion process and just clearing everything down, that digestive passage. I couldn't eat without consuming a little liquid at least. Anything to add, Heather?
Yeah, I for years, as long as I can remember, I've always gone on the fact that the acid is there to break down the food. So if you're drinking with it, you're diluting the acid, and you don't want to be doing that. So I never ever drink half an hour either side. And when I do, it's nearly always because there was too much salt in the food, and I feel dreadful when I do drink. And I'm talking just water. I'm not talking alcohol.
Yeah.
Literally, water, I will feel my stomach feels swollen and uncomfortable, and it's as if it's just gone into reactive.
Yeah, so I guess it's very much an individual approach, isn't it? If Amanda can get away with a little bit of water, and if she feels it's beneficial, fantastic.
Yeah, excellent. We got a super chat from Cruz, a token of appreciation for the feedback given at school in recent weeks. Thank you, gents. That's okay. The school community, in case people don't know, by the way, let's just go to the message here a second, Cruz. Yes, thank you very much for that. If we just add to the stage the school community, this is our school community that Cruz is talking about. You can join our school community, and it's a bit like this. This is what happens. People put questions or comments, like Dorothy there with the heart palpitations, and we'll answer them. We'll look at them, and our brilliant members will answer them probably better than Richard and myself, because if someone has lived with a problem, they are the expert in that problem. So there's also a classroom. So if you're interested in courses, we have a free keto course, Going Carnivore, How to Be Carnivore. We have a beautiful course on thyroid. There's free ebooks. There's lots of videos, loads of research has gone into that. Dairy has a fantastic video, and there's ebooks there. Fruit and veg, all based on behind the scenes PDF from the growers. So we tell you all the secrets. So when you think your apple that is in your supermarket is freshly picked, we would tell you that more than likely it's over a year since it was picked off a tree, and the same with pears, about 9 months. And we get that directly from the food growers. We've got the PDFs. Things about protein, problem solving, also the bookshelf and back club. And you can either get through those by being very active in the community. The more active you are, the more the levels open, or you can pay once and get a free pass to get everything there. So that's what school is about. Hopefully Richard has put a link in the chat. Make sure that you do join, because the price is at least 50% cheaper than most people in the community. In this space where they've got their community set up. Ours is really inexpensive, and if you get it in now at that cheap price, it's guaranteed for life. Anyway, right, on to the next question, which is coming up. I just thought I put the link in. You put the link in. Thank you very much.
After you reminded me.
Okay. Right. Marek is saying, what could be the cause of foamy urine on the carnivore diet? Is this normal? Yes, it is a normal thing. I did 10 years in a private blood testing laboratory where urine analysis was one of the things that we did a lot of. And some of the factors are really interesting. So, for instance, hydration status, which can be over drinking, can cause a problem. So when you start to drink appropriately on this way of eating, because we talk about having straw-coloured urine rather than clear is drinking too much, the concentration goes up, which is not a bad thing, and the parts per million goes up, which is called specific gravity. So you're retaining less water. You are not drinking as much, you're drinking a more appropriate amount. So this affects what's called flow dynamics, and you will find this increased concentration, the flow dynamics, it will actually be coming out quicker. Also, there is sometimes, because you have waste products like creatinine and phosphates, you will see a little bit more foam. But I think that's it. High protein, 2 and over. That doesn't mean that you can ignore it. So if it's very dark, you're not drinking enough. But I wouldn't overly worry about it personally. Rich?
Yeah, 100%. Usually, it's a number of contributing factors. Protein being one of the biggest, because it increases urea, but it's very common and nothing to worry about. But as you say, straw-like urine, not clear and not too dark. So yeah, just drink when thirsty. If you're not thirsty, don't drink. While we're talking about that, I'll give a quick shout out to the electrolytes. As you guys know, I make a good quality electrolyte. The reason I'm saying this is I've just popped a link into the comments. We're doing the offer on a free tub of electrodes again. So if you have previously bought from Amazon UK and you go on to there and kindly leave an honest review and click on that link and give us the information to that, we'll send you a free tub. And also, if you haven't and you would like a free tub, if you purchase one from Amazon UK and then leave an honest review, then and fill in that form, which I've just popped in, that is also in the write-up below, we will also send you a free tub. And the best thing with this is you could order 10 tubs if you wanted to and receive 10 free tubs of electrolytes. So as long as we get, obviously, 10 honest reviews in exchange for that. But yeah, thanks for that. Link below.
Cool. Right. That's good. I'm going to laugh now because I've got to say this name, which I think is why some people put these sort of names. It's Bigger Stickers. There's nothing funny about Bigger Stickers. If you've watched Monty Python, you know where that comes from. Thanks for all your hard work, guys. £5. Thank you very much indeed. Right. I was very tempted to do my Michael Palin impression, but I won't. Anyway, right. Here's a great one for Heather, which is MJ asking, Carnivore helps me a lot with mental health and also addictions. I don't hear much said about this. Thoughts? So we're talking about addictions and mental health.
Yeah, so I've got a very, very addictive personality. My history and the reason I got into the ketogenic space is I had 10 concussions, mainly from horse riding, and then a few other accidents. And I went through a stint of 10 years of PTSD. And I also have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and PCOS, which is polycystic ovary syndrome. So it turns out that all of that can increase your ability to have addictive tendencies. And what I realized, the reason I went from keto to carnivore in May 2018 was I sat and ate 500 grams of macadamia nuts in one sitting. So I realized that I'm not an abstainer, or I'm not a moderator. I have to quit. But what I've also realized with carnivore way of eating is when I have fat and salt together, I'm in trouble. So I don't know if anyone's ever had Mangalitsa fat. It's absolutely amazing fat. I've eaten 500 grams in one sitting. So I have a very addictive side. And I've noticed if I only have meat and I only have it multiple times a day, especially since I've given up butter, my addictive tendencies are way less. And that's why I'm doing it about this event about addictions, because I was speaking to Joe Nifland about this, and you were talking about it earlier, Rich, the casomorphines in butter, in dairy, and it's also in butter. And I obviously, with my addictive tendencies and my mental health issues over the years, even on a carnivore way of eating, I can massively overeat. So I can't put much salt and fat together.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Look, it is something that we've spoken about many times, Stephen, isn't it? Addiction, mental health. It's something that I've presented. I think we touched base on it during Keto Brain Health last year. I've presented on it twice for the Noakes Foundation. I presented in the Public Health Collaboration to their private group. Yeah, look, carnivore is incredibly beneficial for a number of reasons. Steve, have you got a request to share screen there so I can just show something really quickly?
While you're sharing, just really quickly, Dr. Georgia Eads has actually said to us that she cannot eat dairy at all because of her addictive tendencies, and she's carnivore.
Yeah, it is. It's levels within levels, isn't it? But depression, cravings, sugar blocks the prefrontal cortex. It blocks our body's ability, our brain's ability to make sensible decisions. So when we consume sugar, it increases dopamine and serotonin, the reward pathways, and it further downregulates the activation of the dopamine receptor. So the more sugar we eat, the less responsive it comes, and the more sugar that we need to consume. So when we remove these compounds and things like grains, for example, grains contain a compound called glyphosate, and many vegetables and fruits are also sprayed with glyphosate. This blocks a pathway called the shikimate pathway. The shikimate pathway is what allows us to create our aromatic amino acids, tryptophan, tyrosine, and phenylalanine. These are what allow us to make dopamine and serotonin. So in simple terms, vegetables and grains that are sprayed with glyphosate block 95% of our neurotransmitter production, and we're hardwired to chase dopamine and serotonin. If we're not producing it naturally from the aromatic amino acids, then we reach for alternative activations, and this comes from sugar. So this fuels that sugar craving. So when we remove sugar and we eat animal-based, there are no blockages in the cofactors, because we need other ingredients, if you like zinc, iron, magnesium, B3, B6, B9, B12, so on and so forth. Things like lectins and phytates can block the absorption of said cofactors by as much as 100%, which basically means that we don't elicit the dopamine and serotonin response. Therefore, we reach for the sugar and so on and so forth. Now, the other thing that's interesting is that overconsumption of sugar over time, as you guys know, will lead to insulin resistance. Insulin resistance pulls tryptophan down this pathway, the kynurenine pathway. Under normal circumstances, that our aromatic amino acid tryptophan increases serotonin, melatonin, makes us feel good, makes us feel happy, allows us to sleep. But what happens in a state of insulin resistance and inflammation, which is what carbohydrates consumed in excess will do, is that it will pull tryptophan down this pathway. It will pull it down the kynurenine pathway. It will lead to glutamate excitotoxicity, and it will tank GABA. So it'll put our glutamate and GABA ratio out of whack, which leads to, and let me get on to the next slide, many, many things: multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, seizures, DNA damage, depression, anxiety, and cravings. And basically, when we become carnivore, we balance this glutamate to GABA ratio. So it's pure simple. What we put in is what we get out. When we live a carnivore lifestyle, we're devoid of all of those toxic compounds, and we supply the body with everything that it needs to make our neurotransmitters efficiently and effectively. And quite simply, it helps us block depression, anxiety, and cravings. In short.
That's brilliant. Yay, that's brilliant. The person who asked about all the markers is saying about their LP little a is 12, their ApoB is 204, LDL particles 2,800, HDL 88, and trigs are 66. So worried about the high particle. You say sizes, but I think you mean count, to be honest. And small, dense, low density lipoproteins, as well as a CAC of 7, CIMT is good. Right, so this, the image, your coronary artery calcium scan is 7. And incidentally, I get this question so often. I've got a Substack that's coming out next week, which actually says something along the lines of oxidized and glycated LDL does not cause small dense LDL, all right? Because I can tell you the mechanism. We're not going to do that now because it's in the Substack. But I'll go through your numbers because these numbers are pretty good. So when we look at the particle count, 2,800, in the context of carnivore, that's what we see. 2,000 to 3,000 is common because it's one of those things. It's one of those what we call sort of a paradox, that you're metabolically healthy. Because if you look at your HDL and your triglycerides, you've got great, really low triglycerides, which is really essential. Your high density lipoprotein is higher than your triglycerides, which is superb. Your coronary artery calcium score, which is about the best thing you can get, is showing very low levels. I mean, mine was 639 at the age of 49 after a high carb diet. I would give my right arm for it to be 7. So all of that is really good. Your triglyceride to HDL ratio is fantastic. So your discordant lipid pattern that you're worried about, it is totally in keeping with being low carb, keto, or carnivore. And I wouldn't worry about the particle count personally. Like I say, I would look out for my Substack. That is a free article that's coming out this week, which will talk about small dense LDL and talk about ApoB. Obviously, we've also got studies that have proven that LDL is not associated with plaque progression, and ApoB certainly isn't. And we also need to understand about the lipid panel in general. LDL, which allegedly you find in plaque formation, can't physically come from a low density lipoprotein, because there it's esterified and you can only have pure cholesterol, which is only found in red blood cells in the membrane. So it's probably more to do with blood clotting rather than high levels of LDL. And again, I'll cover that. So I think those numbers are fantastic. And the bottom line is you feel good, and your CAC and your CIMT is very good as well. So I think it's very good. This one's for you, Richard. Let's go into this one. Do you recommend NR? Nicotinamide riboside. Is it as good as it's made out to be? Same with NMN. And I say to you because you like going to the supplements after I've
and I'll keep this quick because there's a good question as well there about the D dimer, isn't it, and TMAO. Look, these are precursors for NAD plus essentially. The problem with precursors, especially with riboside, is that riboside will take a ribose sugar from somewhere in the body, and ribose sugars are found in DNA. So if we are short of certain ingredients, if you like, then we can take these things which are precursors, but they involve additional ingredients, which means that we may be devoid. I'm not saying that we will be, but we could potentially be devoid. NMN, which is nicotinamide mononucleotide. NMN is more difficult to say than nicotinamide mononucleotide. NMN. Again, other precursors. I'm not a big. So look, what is the end goal? The end goal is to increase NAD+. What increases NAD+ better than anything else on the planet? Ketones, a ketogenic lifestyle. So even more reason to come and visit us in Edinburgh in October, because we can get into all this sort of stuff there. Ketones increase the NAD+ to NAD ratio by 4 times. It's one of the most potent activators of NAD+, and the sirtuins and everything else downstream. So if you want to increase NAD+, cut the carbs, because carbs, glucose will lower that ratio. You can supplement with all the NAD and the precursors that you want. But as our good friend Dr. Abs will tell you, if you have holes in your bucket, then you're never going to seal the bucket, essentially, and you're never going to function optimally. We need to fix the holes in the bucket. Those holes are things that are going to cause inflammation, oxidative stress, and glycation, which essentially are things like carbohydrates and grains and seed oils. When we remove these and consume an animal-based diet, our requirement for said compound isn't required. I make supplements. I own a supplement company. I was one of the first in the world to have the opportunity to sell NMN, and I turned it down. I tested it myself. I looked into it. I researched, and I wasn't happy with what I found. Now, you may consume these compounds and you may see a benefit, and they may be beneficial, because if you are living a poor lifestyle, then this can increase NAD+ and basically improve your health and well-being. So as a supplement, if you're not living a ketogenic carnivore lifestyle, fantastic. But if you are living a ketogenic carnivore lifestyle, my sense is that you do not require these unless you are seriously damaged and looking for serious help with recovery. Now, it can be problematic. Increased levels of NAD can be toxic. So we don't want to have too much. Too much of a good thing is a bad thing. So we need an optimal level, and we don't want to go over this. Now, if you imagine coming back to Dr. Abs' analogy of filling these holes in the bucket, we filled our holes and we're still adding in these precursors and these NAD+ compounds. Now the bucket overspills. Now we suffer with a whole host of downstream deleterious effects, which is why people who use NAD for intravenously within our community will experience like hot flushes and dizziness, and they'll notice negative effects momentarily. This is because the body has reached its maximum capacity for optimal health, and we're basically flooding in this compound which it doesn't want. There are lots of compounds like this on the market currently. Methylene blue is another one that's doing the rounds at the moment. Don't take methylene blue. These influencers out there who I don't think there is a time and a place possibly to take this where you may see a benefit, but it would mean that you would need to be genetically predispositioned to have damage to the electron transport chain, because it allows us to skip over I think it's complex 2 or 3, I can't remember, but it is 3. One of the complexes in the electron transport chain. So if we suffer with an inability to process and achieve this efficiently, then it can be beneficial. But most people live in a ketogenic carnivore lifestyle do not. Once we've healed and repaired, we do not suffer with these issues. So my opinion is, look, what we put in is what we get out. Your body is an incredible machine, and it needs the correct fuel. Feed it the right things, and the supplementation can come second, if at all.
Brilliant stuff. And that's from someone that makes money out of supplements. And that's why people love you, because you're just straightforward and honest. Nancy, thank you very much for the super sticker of $9.99. That's very good. Now, yes, we missed a question there, I think. So, Richard, you picked up on that. I think you want to pick up on that again. So, Anna's saying about blood clotting and high D-dimers. Chat got, which I think is going to be GPT, claims that carnivore can increase clotting because of red meat. Eggs contain choline, which converts to TMAO, a chemical that promotes clotting, ?
Rubbish.
Yes, it is.
This is another chat GPT. But yeah, lots of these 3-letter things today, isn't it? Look, it can be beneficial. So I use it for research. If I'm looking to find, research, it can help. It can be beneficial with this. But look, it only gives you the results of the things that you put in, and it's a general search on the internet. Much of what is on the internet is a load of rubbish. So TMAO, for those who don't know, is trimethylene N-oxide, and it's created from a precursor called TMA, which comes from choline, and I think it's carnitine or carnosine. Carnitine, I think it is. Is it carnitine? I can't remember. But two compounds which are incredibly beneficial and essential for life. Choline, for example, makes up every single cell within the body. It's essential for the production of the neurotransmitter acetylcholine, and it quite literally makes and builds every cell within the body. Carnitine, it's carnitine. Carnitine allows us to transfer and transport fatty acids into the mitochondria within the cell, which essentially allows us to burn fat for fuel. It's also a potent neurotoxin. It's one of the best antioxidants that we can produce within the body and consume. And it also helps, it's a potent combater of advanced glycation end products, AGEs, which does exactly what it says in the tin. So think about this logically. Two compounds which are essential for life. Now Chat GPT is telling us not to consume it because it may cause clotting. So we need to understand what increases, these pathways. So TMAO, again, increased by TMA, which comes from choline and carnitine. Now, there are other mechanisms which can increase TMAO. TMAO can also be increased by a pathway called FMO3. FMO3 is increased with in circumstances of insulin resistance. So if we are suffering with insulin resistance and inflammation, FMO3 will increase and ramp up TMA. TMA will ramp up TMAO. Now we have increased TMAO. So insulin resistance increases TMAO. Yes, meat does it also. But when it comes from meat, it's natural and it's done through the correct pathway. When TMA is increased via insulin resistance, it's done through the incorrect pathway. But they don't mention this. They don't tell you that insulin resistance will also increase TMAO. Other things that will increase TMAO, fatty fish and vegetables. But they don't tell you that either. So, it's a load of rubbish. We're concerned about the wrong thing. And we see this time and time again with mTOR activation and what else is there? Lots of other things. These things, they can be activated via different pathways. TMAO activated an increase from choline and carnitine is essential for life and is an integral pathway for health and well-being. When it's increased by insulin resistance, it is not. So what we see is people who are insulin resistant, who are fed meat, seeing this increased in TMAO because they're insulin resistant. And now we're tying in with 2 plus 2 is equal in 5. And we think the TMAO is bad because it increases the clotting. It's not the clotting from the meat. The clotting has come from the insulin resistance and inflammation caused by the diet, high in grains and seed oils and so on and so forth. So yeah, if you test that, and maybe we should do this when we're off air, Steve. We'll test this and we'll see if we can do the same to this as we did with one recently. I think it was the shikimate pathway, because ChatGPT told us that the human beings do not have the shikimate pathway, and then we proved that wrong. We basically told ChatGPT that it was incorrect, and we described why, and the answer was you were absolutely correct. So we'll do the same with TMAO. I
think we will. That's good. Right, a two-part question from Cami. Stephen, is everything you talked about today regarding blood tests in your book? No. There will be an edition 3. The thing is, there is so much research that's changing. If we go back to keto brain health, for instance, the tau protein, which is essential in brain function, that's developing, but we can't get a glycated tau protein reading, which is really going to be a game changer. So labs are changing that right now. They're looking at that right now. And the same with when we talk about, advanced lipid discussions. I didn't think people were ready for that. But so I've tested the water with the Substack. And I think when that comes out next week, people will love the fact that we're going into a bit more detail. And of course, if they do love it, then it will go in the book. Simple as that. I don't want to waffle too much in the book. And then we go to her next question, which is to Richard. Richard, why don't they ship your electrolytes to Sweden from Amazon UK?
So yeah, Amazon UK will only ship to certain countries. I think Italy is on there, France is on there. Unsure why they select. Like, every country has it. Since we've come out of the EU, things have changed. We can't ship in there easily. We've had issues with Denmark, which was a question that we had last week and a message that I had on my Instagram messages recently. Countries they're becoming very precious. It's very difficult to ship in. I'm not sure why Sweden don't allow. I've got my theories. For example, Canada won't allow us to ship in there because of the high potassium. Other countries don't allow us to ship because of the astaxanthin. Other European countries like Denmark, for example, won't allow us to ship because they don't allow entry of any food or supplements. So I'm unsure, Cami, but we've just launched some of the electrolytes in Germany. So they are available in Amazon Germany. Once we've proven proof of concept there, we're going to venture into eventually every other country individually throughout the EU. So we will be available in an Amazon store near you sometime soon.
Brilliant. Hope Heather's okay over there. But right, April was asking, a while back, Richard had my husband shorten his eating window to build muscle for 3 meals to 10 a.m., 2 p.m. and 6 with leucine 3 grams each meal. If he only gets 2 meals, should he do less?
3 grams each meal. So if he does 2 meals, should he do less of leucine? Is that what she's asking?
I guess so. Yes, I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah, 3 grams is optimal for mTOR activation. So coming back to the mTOR is the anabolic pathway. That's what we need to heal, build, repair, and grow. And the 4 hours is structured in such a way that we activate mTOR and then we benefit from the mTOR reset. 2 meals is fine. 3 is best endeavors. It's the optimal amount. But even when I was competing professionally, I would struggle with 3 meals and training, because training will activate mTOR once. The protein and the leucine will activate an additional 3 times, giving us 4 mTOR activations, which is the maximum that we can activate. What we don't want is this prolonged activation and elevation of mTOR, which is what we get through IGF-1 and through insulin, which carbohydrates essentially. The reason for this is that they activate mTOR in a different way. So coming back to the TMAO answer, there's different ways we can activate mTOR. Leucine and training will activate it directly. So they'll bind they'll activate it directly, whereas the others will bind to the surface of the cell and set in motion a series of cellular events, a cellular cascade, which will lead to the activation of mTOR, which is far stronger and prolonged, but we don't want that. We want this reset. 3 grams is optimal with any leucine consumption. 1.5 would be the minimum, but 3 will give the strongest mTOR activation. So consume that just before a meal, but 2 meals is fine.
Excellent. So, Heather, how have you enjoyed tonight?
Very interesting. Thank you.
Yes. Are you surprised that there's not been more about brain health? I mean, we've had a couple of things, haven't we? Addiction, and we've had
no, not at all.
health.
Not at all. It's your lives, so people come on with questions for you guys. So I would be surprised if it was only about the keto brain health.
Yes. So tickets, by the way, where would they get the tickets on here? Is it registration? Yeah. So there we are for the 2-day, and you mentioned the 1-day pass. I wanted you to see that.
Wow, he has entered it. Fantastic. I only asked him yesterday, so that's great.
Yes. So people, there you go. The link is in my description. It's also in Richard's, I'm assuming. And if Heather's, yep. So there you go. 1 or 2 days you can get in there on the 4th and 5th of October, Saturday and Sunday. I'm assuming that is.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, brilliant.
And the Instagram is Keto Brain Health for the Instagram. And yeah, we've got a very good goodie bag worth £75.
Wow.
Of stuff in there.
Worth coming just for that, isn't it?
Yeah, that's good. And you've got a good lineup of speakers. So if people want to get there, I think I'm putting the speakers up with their faces. So sometimes people don't know the names, but they do know the faces. So if you want to see who's speaking, I would go and have a look. Simon is, of course, wonderful. He's on Zoom, though, isn't he, as you say?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. And I think as we flick through, I know all these faces, but I didn't know their names necessarily. So really good people. And I think if you're just interested in the subject, it would be a thing to attend anyway. I think
it's also the fact that, like Richard was saying earlier, like addictions, you get rid of it by getting rid of carbohydrates, but it's not necessarily true for people like me who've had brain injuries, where actually I'm way more addicted to the likes of fat and salt put together. And that, as I said, Mangalitsa fat, people are just like, how can you eat that much Mangalitsa fat in one sitting? And I'm like, have you ever tasted it? It's divine. And I don't even, because I've been keto for 15 years, my bowels has no issues with that much fat. So it's one of those things I've had to learn. And I think it's really important for people on this space that keep thinking they're failing or they're not achieving, is because actually, as you said earlier, it's that whole N=1. We're all an experiment on our own. And what works for each one of us is probably very different.
100%. And I think the Keto Brain Health last year was incredible. One of the best events that I've attended. Incredible line of speakers. I learned an awful lot there. And I think, speaking with you, Heather, the speakers that we've got coming with what they're talking about, I think this is something for everyone. I think somebody who is new to low carb keto would see a benefit to come in, and those who have been, as you say, keto carnivore for a prolonged period of time, who are encountering problems, would also see. I'm getting the sheep. That's a sign that I'm talking too much. Wrap up, Rich. But yeah, look, incredible event. I cannot wait. Tickets are on sale now, so make sure you jump on that as soon as you can, not to miss out. But I can't wait. I still haven't written my presentation yet.
Yeah, well, you need to get down to that. But the point I was going to make before we go is your brain is remarkably plastic, and I am testament to that because I'm deaf. I'm very visual. So I have different patterns. You can retrain your brain. So when I did my degree in physiology and health sciences, I had to see lots of different scientific words. So I'm looking at them, not hearing them. So my brain would have used different patterns to recognize them. So we can learn new ways to do things, and that's one of the things with addiction. You can retrain your brain to get over those sort of impulses that you automatically go to and do something different. But anyway, for those that are on YouTube that don't want to join us over at school, I want to thank you. I'm putting the link into school where we've got the members question and answers, which we will be doing in about 30 seconds over there. If you want to join us at school, we'd love to see you. But anyway, thank you so much, all you people on YouTube. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
And thank you, Richard. Richard and I will be over at school, but Heather will now go off and powder her nose and do other things. But anyway, so YouTubers, thank you so much.
Thank you all.